What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus, and we've got a lot to get into today. We have a loaded show. Eric Engels is here to join us right off the bat to talk about the Magic in Montreal last night, which is my nightmare, seeing the Canadiens tie the game late and win the game in overtime. Nick Suzuki scoring both of those goals. Lane Hutson, 3 assists last night. I mean, Montreal Canadiens, despite the team I root for, are a fun team to watch right now and a fun team to support. Then we'll hear from Carter Hutton, another recurring guest of the show, and then Tarik El-Bashir, who covers the Washington Capitals, will actually join us live from the Raleigh airport for about 10 or 15 minutes. So really kind of him to wake up early this morning and hop on the show after the big Capitals game last night. Colby, your thoughts before we bring Eric Engels on, because he's here and he's ready.
Well, we're Carter Hutton's going to come on specifically to really talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And in particular, I really want to pick his brain about the goaltending situation in Toronto and basically like what he predicts will happen come playoff time. Because I do think that that's sort of a big question. And I think Swayman and Ullmark sort of amplified this whole goalie situation a couple of years ago in the playoffs. And Jim Montgomery was widely criticized for how he handled that. So I'll just be really interested to see what he thinks Craig Berube will do from his point of view. But yeah, let's get to Eric. I mean, look, is there anybody now not voting for Lane Hutson as the call? Like, how can he not win? Like at this point, at the hardest time of year, he's separating himself. Like all year, I've said I think Celebrini's a little bit ahead. I don't think that anymore. I don't even think it's.
I actually, you've been saying it for like I think 2 months now, where Lane has jumped Macklin. I feel like.
I just think the gap has gotten big. So let's bring Eric in.
We'll do the read later for Proraso. So let's just bring Eric right on. Eric, first of all, good morning.
Morning.
Always lovely to have you on here. And my first question is going to be
lovely. It's lovely to have you on here. You know that?
Looking at the three of us, it's clearly morning. I need a sip of coffee here.
Yeah. Wait, I don't look. I actually think I'm having a good hair day so far today.
Yeah.
Were you chirping?
Better one than me.
First question: is Nick Suzuki not making Team Canada the best thing that happened to the Montreal Canadiens?
That's well framed. I think he's been pretty good all year, but he's definitely picked his game up another level. It's funny, like Marty was asked specifically that question yesterday, and he said, I think he's been pretty good since, but he's found another level. And you know what? If you go back a year ago, we were in Florida and Montreal was losing to the Panthers, but they, went down to the wire. Nick Suzuki was matched up against Barkov all night, and both of them had like identical performances, like both a couple points, both just excellent at both ends of the ice. Paul Maurice had gone through the whole morning singing Nick Suzuki's praises. Barkov himself, recognizing how good of a player he's become. And Suzuki had such a great game that day in Florida. I remember speaking to Marty and after the game and him saying, look, as good as Susie is right now, he's got a whole other level to get to. You can just see that he's going to keep going. And one of the most interesting things that I think makes certain players special is how rare it is to have a linear progression path. A linear development path. If you go and look at the purest of statistics, just goals and assists and whatever, like you can just see Nick Suzuki has gone kind of on this straight line for the curve. It's going just like that. And I don't think he's done. Early in his career, he had a huge impact on their playoffs when they went to the 2021 Stanley Cup final. You could just tell then that the kid that was, he came into the league off a junior season, his last junior season, where he had 42 points in 24 playoff games or something like that. You could just tell he was a clutch player. To see him put the Canadiens on his back in this second half of the season and to see the young core members fueling this run that they've been on since the Four Nations, that's the promise of the future for the team. I don't think there's anything to be more excited about if you were a Canadiens fan.
And I do want to just add to this too, because I'm looking at his numbers right now, and I also didn't realize he's still only 25. Like I would have thought he was like 27 maybe, but his points go from 41 in 1920 to 41 again in 2021, 61, 66, 77, and now 79 this year. So he's,
you know where he's going with this, right, Eric? You know the comparison.
No, I'm actually not. I'm not going there.
Here,
I'm
right?
not going there at all.
I mean, come on. We know
where was he headed? Where was he headed?
The only thing ever on his mind is Alexis Lafreniere.
I swear to God,
he's hoping for with this whole angle he's taking right now.
I'm a believer in that player. I'm a believer in that player, but I don't know if he's going to become Nick Suzuki. I think the one of the more comparable players is a guy he'll be fighting for that Olympic spot is Robert Thomas and what's happening in St. Louis there. But
yeah. I was just going to say that too, Eric. Just since Four Nations, the leaders in points in the NHL, the top 5 players are Nikita Kucherov with 29, Robert Thomas 28, Rupe Hintz 28, Nick Suzuki 27, and then John Tavares 24. Pretty wild group of 5.
Hey, the man.
Yeah, well, listen, hey, John Tavares, for my money, has, he's always shown up in the important games for the Leafs. All these years where they've had trouble through the playoffs, he's been there and he's taken a lot of flack in that market. It's just a great player. People talked about that contract and $11 million is too much. I think he's lived up to it. Honestly, speaking of contracts, last point to make on Suzuki, and the most critical one is that if you want to talk about the Canadiens under Gorton and Hughes building to not just make the playoffs and anything can happen, and that's the mentality. It's to build a team that could contend for the Stanley Cup year over year over year. It's exciting. You obviously have to make the playoffs first, and that's the goal for this season. The goal was just to be in the mix this season. Now it's become something else because they've gone on this kind of, like Suzuki, a linear path. Their greatest path to becoming the team they want to be is Suzuki for the next 5 years makes under $8 million. So does Caulfield. So does Slavkovsky for 8 more years. So does Caden Gooley for another 5 years, for another 6 years after this one. Keep going down the list. The way they are financially structured means if they bring in any players above these guys, which they're definitely in a position to do with the amount of draft capital they have and trade capital they have and prospects, and they're in a good spot the way they've been managed.
Well, and Lane Hudson's next contract, when his ELC's up and the cap is where it's at, that might be $15 million a year in his second contract, the way this freaking kid's playing.
Jeff Gordon and Ken Hughes are going to love hearing you say that.
Yeah, I know, right? And hey, Ken Hughes has to be careful because I'm going to be talking about his kid at the Frozen Four here in a week or two. So I got the microphone, so they better be a little careful with what they say. But I want to just say this really quick before we talk about Lane Hudson. I saw somebody, actually, I saw Cam Robinson write that Jacob Fowler is returning to college. I just want to put some water on that right now and tell you that's just completely false. And I'm just telling you, you can, look, anything can change. But if I was a betting man and I was betting the slip to my car or my house, I would tell you that Jacob Fowler is going to sign, and he's going to do exactly what Carey Price did in 2007 and go play for Hamilton. And it's different for a forward, right? These guys are defensemen. They can step right in. Carey Price played a couple of regular season AHL games before he went on a Calder Cup championship run with Hamilton to start his pro career. I think a lot of people forget that. But expect to see a Jacob Fowler signing. The American League teams on the West Coast right now, what are they going to fly this kid out to Abbotsford? You're not going to do that. Abbotsford's not that easy to get to. So I'm sure you already know this. I can't imagine I'm breaking anything to you, but I'm just saying, that report is it's just very, very false and very, very misguided.
Listen, I don't like to go after other people's work. Cam has done a great job, and I've never seen him really come out with anything false. So
I mean, this year he's struck out on a number of things. Michael Misa getting paid $200,000 to go to BU.
I know.
There's a lot of swings and misses from him, in my opinion.
I know he definitely couched it in saying there's smoke out there that he's considering returning to college. If that's ultimately what Jacob chooses, whatever, the thing that you got to keep in perspective in these situations is he's in the middle of a contract negotiation. I know people think the college contracts, ELCs are slam dunks,
not when you're a third round pick.
even when you're a first round pick, I go back to Caulfield, or a 7th round pick, and a kid who won the Mike Richter Award, and Caden Primo. Like, there's some of these contracts where they don't get the full bonuses. They don't get, so right now he's in a negotiation. Bless you, Johnny. They're in a negotiation. Right now they're in a negotiation. If you're Jacob Fowler and you're Jacob Fowler's agent, the thing you want most is the ELC to start, and for that first year to get burned, and for him to have an opportunity to play an NHL game. Right now, if you're the Montreal Canadiens, there's no way you're putting Jacob Fowler in that situation. Like, it's unfair to put him in that situation with the Canadiens where they're at in the playoff chase. If for whatever reason you get to the final game of the season and you are completely out of it and it's just not going to happen, then maybe it's something you consider, and maybe that's what the Fowler camp would be trying to negotiate for. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm inside a lot of the things that happen with the Canadiens, but when it comes to this type of thing, when an open negotiation is happening with a college free agent, you have to take everything with a bit of a grain of salt, because people have an angle here. So look, Colby, you're well piped into the college scene, so I have no reason to doubt what you're saying. I know Cam is well piped in with the prospects. We'll see how it all shakes out, because everything can change with a phone call in all these situations. My expectation, if I were a betting man, is that we're more likely to see Fowler in Laval in the next couple of weeks than we are.
Said Hamilton. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
no,
meant
okay.
Laval.
But that's where Carey Price was, right?
Yeah, my bad.
He was in Hamilton. the team moved. We're more likely to see him. We're more likely to see him with Laval than I think we are with
100%.
Boston College next year. But if he's in Boston College next year, I don't think that's the worst thing for him or the Canadiens either. So we'll see. I think it's a better situation if he's with Laval, to be honest.
100%. He's gonna get a ton of starts next year. He needs to move to the next level. I understand, things can change. I'm just telling you the reality of the situation. I don't think Fowler's camp is being unreasonable, thinking he should step right into the NHL and play. I think they understand. Look, Carey Price didn't step into the NHL and play, and that's all you need to see, and that's all you need to hear. So I just wanted to get that out there, because you're on with us. We're talking Canadiens. I
mean, did you think Trey Augustine would come out?
I am way less connected out in Michigan State and out on the Midwest teams. My ear is I have no idea. Is just the reality when it comes to them.
But as a fan, I would have thought he'd sign with Detroit just because of their goaltending situation.
There you go. Primo was tremendous, but the thing, in Detroit was there was 5 goaltenders there this year. Primo was tremendous in college and at Northeastern, some of the best numbers we've ever seen in 2 years for a kid who came in as a true freshman. What he did was unbelievable. I wonder if he had to go back in time and make a different decision, he might have stayed for his junior year also.
Yeah.
So you never know with goalies. There's just a longer runway to the NHL, a longer roadmap. I find burning the first year of an entry-level contract. I was talking about this with my buddy Marc-Antoine Gaudin. He actually brought this point up. He works for Radio Canada, does an amazing job. And he was saying, if you look at goaltenders in general and they burn that first year, they don't have a lot of leverage for that next opportunity. There's not a lot of leverage to reel in a big contract, because you're just not going to get the NHL games under your belt to have that leverage. So it's almost better to wait sometimes. Again, Jacob Fowler is a pretty special player. They saw something in him, and Billy Ryan, there's a great video of him pounding the table for the Canadiens to take this kid. And they love him, and I think he's thrilled that they took him when they did, and I'm sure they'll work this out.
So it's a great pick in the 3rd round. I mean, this kid's going to be a really good goaltender, and he's having watched him so closely, he's ready for the next challenge. And I didn't expect this to take up half the time we asked you for this morning, so I do apologize. On
to Lane Hudson. Here we go.
I know you're the guy in Montreal, so I wanted to say this face to face. I didn't want to go on Twitter and type this out. I feel like we have an audience, and I think people know I'm gonna say it like it is. And if I offend or hurt people's feelings, they'll just join the line of people that have negative things to say about me. But
I think Habs fans are going to be thrilled to hear.
Yeah, well, it's just reality of what's happening. I just think it's irresponsible reporting, and I've seen it with BU, and it bothered me then. And believe it or not, the tweet is still there. He never even took it down, and so whatever, it is what it is.
Well, that I respect, though. If you're wrong, you shouldn't just delete it because you're wrong.
You should just own it. When I'm wrong, I'll just own it. I'll eat it. I'm wrong plenty, and I just eat it. So. All right, let's
see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens before declaring anybody's totally off. But Colby, I know you're connected in Hockey, so
no, it's all good. So let's talk about Lane Hutson, because again, another 3-point night.
I were gonna say let's talk about him because he went to BU.
No, I mean, listen, he's obviously was one of the best Terriers that I ever got to watch. He was worth buying a ticket and going to see play in college. He's now worth buying a ticket to go see play in the NHL. We've checked in with you at different points of the season and have really appreciated you giving us insights into your dealings with him and your conversations with him and his progression. Where are we at with him now? Because it's his numbers, the company he's keeping with his stats, the plays he's making late in games. I mean, it's unbelievable. It is a sight to see.
I have a lot to say on Lane Hutson, but I want to kind of flip it on to you guys. I said at the beginning of the season, this is a kid who's going to start in the NHL as a star and eventually become a superstar. So my question for you guys is he a superstar already?
I think, right now, I would say he is.
He's playing like a superstar.
I want to see him. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
I want to see him. Here's what I said. I said, the way this kid looks, he's on a trajectory. The special things he is doing as a first-year player in the hardest position to play. To me, if one day we're sitting here talking about him being in the Hall of Fame, I will be 0% surprised. He looks like he is playing like a superstar right now. That's what I would say.
I agree.
A couple things, because what stands out to anybody who's watching outside of Montreal is the offensive side, and it's worth mentioning, right? When you're night after night being mentioned in the same category as Brian Leetch, Nick Lidstrom, and Chris Chelios in terms of what you're doing statistically in a historical perspective, when you've already reached the top 10 in rookie defensemen for what you've achieved in terms of points, that's one thing. I think of Andrei Markov, who, fans of the Canadiens, an entire generation thinks there should be a statue of outside the Bell Center. And, he's the greatest defenseman of a generation. He was a brilliant, visionary player, great passer, great power play player. He had 64 points. That was his career max. And he never was over 60 at any other point in his career. And this kid has 8 games to play and is already at 62.
He's fourth in defenseman for points.
Only Cale Makar by a couple points has outproduced him since January. So when we talk about superstardom, I think Lane is there. And the reason why I don't think it's hyperbolic to say is because his competitiveness is insane. Yeah. This kid works so hard, it's obscene. And what I would really urge hockey fans to do, or who are tuning in because he's become must-watch television, watch what he does defensively.
Yeah,
the people that think he can't play defense. I had a whole thread on Twitter yesterday talking about it, breaking down his plus minus, which he's now, I think he's -6 on the season, but he's minus 11. He's minus 11 at when the Canadiens' net is empty. He's been on the ice for 13 goals against and on for 2 goals for. Okay, this kid at 5-on-5 is he played 26 minutes last game. He's averaging 23 minutes a game. He's playing against best players in the world. But watch what he does defensively to overcome the fact that A, he's got limited experience, and B, he's small. His stick is unbelievable. His angling is elite. He corkscrews the puck off guys' sticks nonstop. He denies them pucks. He takes it back with his competitiveness. His transition is unbelievable. He's going to lose corner battles sometimes. He's going to lose positioning in front of the net. It's just going to happen. He's going to make the mistakes that he's going to make are going to be highlights always, because he needs to risk a little bit more than your average player does to access what is a much higher level of skill than most players have. He has become much better at calculating that risk, but it's still going to happen. None of that will detract from the fact that he will always come out on the positive of that ledger. Like he's unbelievable.
It's like a banking system, and he'll always put more equity in than he has to take out. And if I think back, like, and maybe again, like I was very, very young, but like the early days of Brian Leetch's career, like it wasn't always perfect. Like, you know, and even in the later days, it wasn't always perfect. Guys that are smaller, they have to rely on their brain to win puck battles sometimes. They have to rely on their brain to have inside body positioning, and they have to rely on their stick and their feet. And, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You watch him, half the time he plays defense, he's moving forward. Like he any of these new modern defensemen, look at the play Luke Hughes made the other night on the late goal the Devils made, where he just defends moving forward. He sticks a puck, you know, he creates a turnover at the blue line against Minnesota, and then the goal happens 2 seconds later. So it's a treat watching Lane. Like I don't remember ever watching the Montreal Canadiens this much in a season. They're just wildly entertaining, and he's a blast. He's such a blast to watch, and it's going to be fun to see him in the playoffs. It's going to be really fun to watch this guy play in the playoffs. I guess, you know, it looks like they're going to play Washington, I guess.
Why are you so sure already that they're in? They're like 2 points ahead.
I know you think the Rangers are going to get in, Johnny, but it's not.
Rangers have the tiebreaker. This is going to come down to the wire. It's going to come all the way down to the wire. People are looking at the Canadian schedule and seeing teams like Philadelphia and Nashville on it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they swept the Florida Panthers this season. They have lost games to some other teams. Like, they got crushed by Boston. That hasn't been good this season. Like, it's you cannot underestimate any opponent. The NHL, if anything, should learn anything about this season. If anybody should learn, I'll take another sip of coffee. If anybody should learn anything about this season, there's 5 premium teams in this league and like 20 that are all in the same bowl. Like there's no easy game. Philly fired Tortorella, keeps winning games right now. I'm sure Danny Briere is pulling his hair out. Like this is the league they're in. The Canadiens are in it to the end. One advantage I think that they have in this race is that they have 5 games left at home out of the 8 they have to play. That's, if you guys tune into the videos of what's going on at the Bell Center these days, I mean, I
saw your tweet last night about like listen to the crowd before the play even develops. Like it was
like
so
that's a boost that'll give you legs when you don't have them. And the Canadiens have reasons to not have legs. Like you look at the run they've been on since 4 Nations, they've put the afterburners on to put themselves in this position, right? They came out of the break down 6 points in the playoff race. So like, it's been impressive. Again, the kids are fueling it. Hudson is must watch. Suzuki is must watch. People who say stuff like Nick Suzuki isn't a number 1 center on a Stanley Cup contending team or whatever it is, like you're drunk. It's over. That narrative is so dead. It's so far behind us. It's ridiculous. Like the guy he's one of the best 200-foot players in the NHL, and you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to Alexander Barkov or anybody who has to play against him every night. Like he's really become a special player. And I'll say this, that just in closing, because I know Carter Hutton's waiting and I don't want to keep him waiting. Martin St. Louis, the job that this guy has done this year, and you can make a case for Huska and Carberry and Arniel and go down the list of great coaches in the league. And this is always a hotly debated award. I think Carberry's probably running away with it.
Yeah.
If the Canadiens make the playoffs, Martin St. Louis' stock should rise significantly. It's their collective game that has brought them to where they are. He has done a masterful job of convincing them the right way to play. And he's a brilliant modern day coach who can be demanding, but builds relationships with his players and gets them to buy in. And the buy-in, I have an article on sportsnet.ca right now with comments from Seth Jones and Brad Marchand and Nate Schmidt, who have all talked about how bought in the Canadiens are to playing the right way. And that's a credit to their coach.
Yeah. Wow. That's, I mean, those are powerful statements too, coming from opponents like that. But Eric, yeah, thank you so much for stopping in this morning. We'll definitely have you back on, I imagine, either next week or the week after when Montreal separates themselves, if they do. And Lane obviously is the clear candidate for the Calder.
Hang in there, Johnny. It's going to be okay.
Tonight's going to be.
No, it's not. It's not going to be okay.
Yeah.
Don't give him any hope, Eric. You're too
Minnesota.
positive for me. Stop giving him hope.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right.
You're the best. Thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
See you guys.
Thank you. Let's not waste any time. Eric's the best, but let's bring on Carter
One
Hutton.
Canadian team to another this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada. Oh,
not waste any time. Now you're saying that? I was just sitting here
Carter's
watching you guys. What do you think? You trying to get your viewers up, your viewership up, bringing me on so early?
I owe you too, because you did step in for me on Monday for DFO Live. So I'm just kind of building my debt with you. Who's the best player on the Toronto Maple Leafs right now?
Ooh, right now, I don't know. I'm always going to err on the side of Willie Nylander. He's my boy. I think he just has that swagger. He has what it takes. And outside of that, obviously you can make an argument for everybody. I think there's so many guys that have played well for this team at times, right? For a team that hasn't totally been healthy. I think you look at their goaltending. That's going to be the big question mark, I think, going in, is their back end. And who rolls with it? Right now it's been a bit of a run here. I think Woll at times has been shaky lately. The game we watched him in Nashville, he was kind of bad. I thought the other night against the Ducks, he was good. And that was a big road trip. I think, losing that game to the Sharks and then being able to come back and play really well in the game against LA. That was an important one, I think, for this Toronto Maple Leafs team, down the stretch here as it goes.
But can we stay on goaltending for a second? Because I feel like you breezed through that, and I think
I can do whatever you need, buddy.
I think I want to spend the next 20 minutes talking about Toronto Maple Leaf goaltending, because they've had this rotation when they've been healthy for the most part, right?
Yeah.
It's been a little hit or miss at times. It's been really good at times. Jim Montgomery got criticized for how he handled Olmark Swayman a couple of years ago in the playoffs in the first round, after these guys split all year. What do you think is going to transpire in Toronto? Because Berube has a difficult decision to make, because neither of these guys has said, oh yeah, I can play 10 games in a row. I can play, we just haven't seen it. Although we saw with Woll last year, he did perform in the playoffs, but I don't know, you're a goalie. Where's the situation going? And is it going to be the talking point that, creates the narrative in Toronto when they flail out early?
You know what? For me, Colbs, I think it's going to be Stolarz, right? And I think Craig Berube is going to draw a line in the sand and be like, hey, this is our guy. This is what we're going with. I think there's definitely going to be a leash to it in a sense. But I think coming out of break, we saw Stolarz start where it should have been Woll start coming out, when they were going back and forth. And those were two big starts against big teams. And since then, he's been really good. And I think that is the important factor here. There is a maturity factor. With all that being said, I am a big believer in Joseph Woll. I think his upside is higher. I think he has potential to steal more games. I think Anthony Stolarz is a very good goalie. I don't put him in that elite number one category, because he's had a really great year. But for me, I think it's going to be a short leash. I know you don't want to have two guys rotating. We've seen it so many times where it gets ugly, but having two good goalies is a important factor to have. I remember a series I played in against the Anaheim Ducks. It went to 7 games where John Gibson started the series and we went up 2-0, and then Freddie Anderson came in. We're a similar situation, right? Where John Gibson was that guy probably with a higher ceiling in that sense, and they ended up trading Freddie Anderson away. And I get the same vibe here where it's going to be a short leash. I think both guys need to be ready to go, but I think your game one starter's got to be Stolarz, and in my opinion, the way he's been down the stretch. And my view of that is the way that he manages the game too. He's a bigger guy. He's more methodical. He manages the crease very well. And when you get to playoffs and the way that they're going to defend now, when you look at some of the pieces they've added on the back end, I think the Leafs are going to do a better job this year of protecting their goalies and, limiting chances, where I think Stolarz fits better in that mold. But all that being said, you might throw that out the window if first game he gives up 5 and they lose 5-2 or something. I think it'll be a short leash.
Well, can you just explain to me and to everyone, because you made a statement that I just don't know goaltending like you do. So what would make Woll a guy who can steal a game more? Is it just big save ability? Is it clutchness? What where does that come from? If you could articulate that.
He's just got a higher ceiling in like his development, right? He's a younger guy. And so Stolarz is very good, but he's kind of your bread and butter. He plays deeper in the crease. He doesn't really wow you at times, where I think Joseph Woll just has a more edge to him, right? When you think of guys, like I'm trying to get a good comparison for you of guys we've watched over the last few years. Where like when I look at Joseph Woll, I think his capability and his athleticism is higher than Anthony Stolarz. Anthony Stolarz relies on reads and size and depth management. He lets the game come to him. He never really gets outside the box. And something that I had to get better at, because I would be more the other side of it. I was super athletic. And if you were shooting it 2 feet wide when I was in college, I was saving it 2 feet wide.
I know. Like we used in our scouting reports, it was always this guy won't give up on a puck. So if you have an empty net, it's got to be like, I can remember that in games we played against you.
Freaked out.
Make sure you're bearing down around the net on this guy. Like, so yeah. I can confirm remembering that.
Yeah. This guy kind of sucks. He just tries really, really hard.
So I never said that. Come on.
And no, I'm just joking. I don't care, man. And so I literally view that as like, when I got to the NHL, I had this like college mentality, like you talked about in that scouting report, where now all of a sudden I got to pro and I was like, hey, how do I reel my game in? Right. And a goalie coach, Mitch Korn, always taught me that, like, we talk about if there was a camera that came down over top of me, just showed the crease. I never want to leave that. And I think I learned a lot from getting to my posts all the time, where Anthony Stolarz would be elite at that. Right. That's what he is elite at. He's elite at staying inside the post, never really beating himself, where Joseph Woll is a little more of a mix for me. Right. He's big. He can manage that, but he has that like second save capability, where you talk about the scouting report on me is I'm not going to quit on pucks, where I think Joseph Woll has more ability to make bigger saves and steal games, where maybe the Leafs don't have it, where I think if they don't have it one night, Anthony Stolarz isn't your guy that's going to push you over the top. And then when I look at this Leafs team, I know Johnny loves him. He's been on him since the start of the year, and he's been totally wrong. You know, they're first in the Atlantic now, but they're not going to win the President's Trophy.
Definitely more right than I am wrong.
But I just think the fact that Joseph Woll, like, say if the Leafs do go on a run, he is the guy that has the capability to be like the Conn Smythe winner, right? Like, he has that upside to just go on a run like Cam Ward did. Remember when Cam Ward didn't start for Carolina? He was younger, but same idea. He has that big save capability to really carry a team.
Are you good on goalies?
Yeah, no, I just hearing you talk about like depth management and reading the rush, like, you just don't think about that stuff if you didn't play the position. Like, I mean, I hear you and Raycroft talk about this stuff. I try to incorporate it into broadcasts that I do, and I feel like I can just get away, even though half of it probably doesn't make sense. I just drop some of those terms in there just to try to sound smarter.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Cool. I bet if I showed you like clips, like if I had a scenario where it was like a guy staying within his posts and like not like shifting into a puck instead of like exploding out to make a save, you'd really notice it. You'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Because it's not necessarily like the first save. It's like the chaos that ensues after that, where like, if you think of like post line, right? If guy's shooting on a blocker side and I drop into it, knowing that if the puck's wide of me, it's going to miss the net. And if not, it's hitting me. Where if that puck is wide of the net, where when I was talking about when I was younger, say you're chasing outside your post. Yes, you're going to make that save. But then from there, it's like the efficiency of like the next save. Now I got to recollect myself, get to the next one. And then that's where it starts to snowball on you.
Yeah. No.
All right. I just want to shift gears quick because I see a couple comments from Sharma and Jeremiah in the chat saying, like Ryan Whitney on Chicklets yesterday said the last time Boston and Detroit missed the playoffs was 1967, which was the year the Leafs won the cup. And now this could be the Leafs year. And trust me, I get the comparisons. I did it all fucking year last year with the 94 Rangers. So I understand where Leafs fans are coming from, but let me debunk that comment because the Leafs being in first place in the Atlantic to me is only a disadvantage for Toronto. And let me explain, because going back to 2017-18, including the bubble, so maybe the numbers are a little bit skewed, the Maple Leafs are 9-17-0 at home in the playoffs. On the road, 13-12-0. Maybe having the home ice advantage is actually a disadvantage for Toronto. Should they lose a couple games on purpose and get that 3 spot?
No, you never lose games on purpose.
I'm obviously asking that sarcastically, guys.
I'm going to tell Vic next time I can't come on when you're going to say stuff like this.
Hutz, did you hear what he said yesterday?
At this point?
No, I don't know. What is it? What did I hear yesterday?
Yesterday, he said the goalie who lets up the Ovechkin goal is going to be happy. And then Pat Maroon was like, what is he going to go celebrate in the pile with him, Johnny? Like Pat. And then Pat started texting us about it later in the day. He literally thinks the goalie wants to be the one to give up the Ovechkin
That's not what
goal.
I said.
Yeah, I dropped a bomb yesterday. When I was filling in for you with Frank there, I dropped a bomb that Ovi's got 9 on me in 6 games. So Frank was taken back by that. So I really helped out. But honestly, I don't think you ever play to lose. You play to the part of the process is playing the right way.
That was a joke.
You think Craig is going to like...
It was a joke, Carter.
No, it wasn't. You actually, your brain works this way.
I'm just making a point that they aren't good at home in the playoffs. I'm not saying they should fucking lose games on purpose.
I think it's a totally different. I think you can't even go year by year or team to team. Like that's one thing that sometimes we rely on stats and numbers. And this is something that I always thought was hilarious. Cobes, I don't know if you ever dealt with this, or Johnny, you played long. I'd like meet a fan. They'd be like, well, I've been wearing my lucky socks. And every time I wear my lucky socks, you guys have been winning. And I'm like, get that shit out of here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so I should just stop trying now. Cause I got hockey moms that play with my kids and they're like, well, I bring an amethyst rock when he's playing and he scored every time. I was like, well, good thing you brought your rock. Like those stats and stuff are throw it out the window. It's based on hard work. It's based on team. And I feel like the Leafs now more than ever, again, we're going to judge them by what goes on in the playoffs. But I do like their back end. I do like the way Craig Berube has guys buying in. I think now adding Carlo, getting Morgan Riley to hopefully play better. I think Morgan Riley, Scott Lawton, and obviously Mitch Marner are going to really be judged by what they do in the playoffs, right? Those are 3 guys that I think that can be X factors for this team. Because other than that, like you talk about McCabe, you talk about Tanev, you talk about their depth and predictability in their game defensively has gotten so much better. Where when I look at last year, years past, they tried to play run and gun. It's been ugly. And this is where I think this team is trending in the right direction. And that being said, man, I think winning first in the Atlantic and getting home ice is the most important thing, right? I don't think it's going to have a huge, I know you're just messing around, but like in truth, dodging that early matchup and letting Tampa and Florida just the heck out of each other, it's going to be awesome, right? I think OEL has been unbelievable. I think Carlo helps out Morgan Riley. You see it, Vic pulled it up here. And for me, Morgan Riley's been the big question mark.
Second time's the charm.
Yeah, I saw that coming. But honestly, that's my take on this team right now. And I think this back end is really going to help how they can grind out in a 7-game series, where I don't think they've had this in the past.
Yeah. What would you do with Mitch Marner? You know, that is his career in Toronto completely dependent on what he does in the first round or two? Because I don't think anybody really thinks they're going to get to the 3rd round, but is it all dependent, or like, do you have to sign this guy? Put your GM hat on. What are you doing if you're tree living?
I think like optics of it from the outside is there's a lot of pressure on how he's going to perform this year, right? It's obviously been a great year so far. Statistically, he's played well. Obviously the 4 Nations bump was great. It was nice to see him on the big stage, but it's a different game, right? I know a lot of people talk about 4 Nations, but like that is a different animal. It's an all-star game in the sense of, yes, it's harder hockey, but come playoff time, he's going to have to do something here. And I feel like this is a player that is so talented. He is so good. He's a Swiss Army knife. To let him walk and see him go win somewhere else is really going to sting. Because no matter where he goes, he's going to continually be a good player. And I think that's the problem with him. If you do let him walk, how do you replace him, right? If it's not homegrown talent. Because the fact of the matter is, players like Mitch Marner, superstars, are usually homegrown. It's really hard to find in free agency. And I think that is the biggest question mark with this team. And with that being said, I don't know. For me, I just don't understand how you can let a player like Mitch Marner walk. You can say all you want about it, about, where he's at with the cap going up, man. I think you have to pay him. He's so good. He can do it all. And I don't know. I know we judge this team based off playoff, but he is way too good, I think, to let him walk in free agency.
Just can't let this guy go for nothing, I think. And I've been saying that. And so you're going to have to pay him. And maybe just don't give him the full no move, no trade for all 8 years. And they're like, Vic thinks that he's going to take some like discounted years and discounted deal and bet on himself, but the cap's gone up. These players are cashing in here. Nobody's taking friendly deals right now. This is the time to cash in. And I would expect Mitch Marner to go big or go home on this contract. I do not think he's giving the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'll just do a 4-year deal. I have a hard time. That, to me, that's fantasy land.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the betting on yourself is tricky too, right? He's a guy that plays on the edge. He's like, I guess I think about his skating abilities. He's always in a position to get hit, and he doesn't get hit, but he's an injury away from losing a lot of money if you take that short-term deal. That's always like my experience getting contract was a lot different than these players, right? Like I always wanted as much term as I could because I was trying to just cash in. But
Colby
I
and
also
Vic
think
are
like
arguing behind the scenes right now.
what?
Colby
Well,
and
Vic
are
is
arguing.
claiming that he never said he would take a discount, and all year Vic has said he's going to take 4 years. He doesn't
They're
want 8
typing at
years.
each other behind
Oh
the
yeah, here we go.
He's going to take 4 years, not 8 years, and now he's going to backtrack on that. Yeah, good luck with that, pal.
I agree with what he says though about Tavares. I could see Tavares taking the deal because at the end of the day now, like he's in the category, he's still unbelievable, right? I think he's going to score 40. But the fact of the matter is he's long in the tooth now. All he wants to do is win, right? Maybe he can help him out. He's got enough money to send him off into oblivion. Where Mitch, like you're still the best player and you like set a standard. I can't see him taking a deal that isn't friendly. Even the guys betting on each, like Austin Matthews taking a short-term deal, it's just still high risk, right? Like you get injured, something can happen. You could leave, if they're taking short, that's probably like $50 million left on the table.
Yeah.
Like
Of
at the end of
course
the
it
day,
is.
if you're
He's not
like,
taking-
what are you?
cracking up right now? Yeah,
and now Vic's saying no. He said it. I said he would only take 7 years. Johnny, you're just happy right now that you're not the butt of the joke. All right, so easy over there.
Why you have to make it about me? I'm having a good time.
Maybe Marner will say it's okay, guys. You don't have to pay me. I'll play for free. I'll come to the Rangers
to
and
Buffalo.
play
I
for
said if
free.
that happens, you could tie me to a chair for a week and do whatever you want. Buffalo.
You're always painting yourself into a corner with these things, Johnny.
Yeah, but Carter, thank you so much again for. Do you have anything else, Colby?
I mean, I could talk to Carter all day, but yeah,
I know
I got to work. I got to work today, boys. I got this show, and then I got 2 hours straight of work today. This is like I got a real job today.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
No way. Well, thank you so much for stopping in. We're sorry that we kept you waiting.
It's all good.
But we'll do it again, I'm sure, soon. We'll keep you waiting again.
Okay, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Go Riverhawks.
You betcha.
Thanks, Huts. What a beauty. Love
I
that
know.
guy.
I love when Huts comes on.
I want to hang out. Like Vic said, he was such a blast in Nashville. Like I'd love to have the chance to hang out.
Our chat was getting irritated today at him. Like I see some people that are a little irritated with things that he said. I love like
I was just looking at you and Vic. I wasn't looking at the chat.
it's you can disagree, like it's okay, disagree, but getting irritated with his listen, I love it. Our chat is passionate. I feel like if we did a live show, we would not be able, how in sports
we do a live show.
You don't I'm saying like a live audience show.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to give the bottle caps, and we'd probably have to give plastic cups when they drank. Otherwise, our chat would probably be hurling beer bottles and hurling caps. Like when you buy a water and they won't let you have we would not. Our chat would not be allowed to have any bottles. It would have to be all poured in cups because they're a passionate bunch, and they would be throwing shit without a doubt. All right, dude. We have a new sponsor. We have a new sponsor, right?
We have a new sponsor. It is time now for the Crispy Hot Take presented by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 portable glass air fryer. And we do have a little ad that we're going to play here really quick. So Vic, cue it up.
Meet the first of its kind. The Ninja Crispy portable cooking system. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. So you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
So, what's so funny?
I'm just like, that's awesome. Did you get one of these?
I want one. No, I want one. But let me just talk about the Ninja Crispy portable glass air fryer just for 1 second. It's an all-in-one system that includes a 4-quart, 6-cup Tupperware glass container and 2 storage lids. The Ninja Crispy is thermal, shock resistant, and can go from frozen to crispy in minutes. With the Crispy Power Pod, you get the power of a full-size air fryer in the palm of your hands. The 4-quart container fits 4 pounds of chicken or veggies. You can cook a personal-sized meal in 7 minutes in the 6-cup container. Max crisp, bake, air fry, and re-crisp with the Ninja Crispy. You can prep, cook, and store anything from crispy favorites to one-dish meals. Visit their website in the link in the description and stay tuned for a chance to win a free Ninja Crispy for one of our lucky fans. So for me, my crispy hot take for today is the Minnesota Wild missing the playoffs because they've been skidding as of late, 4-4-2 in their last 10. The Calgary Flames, despite losing last night, have been clawing their way back in, only 6 points back with 1 game in hand. They're cutting it close. And Minnesota right now, I do not have the confidence in them like I never do. And they actually play the Rangers tonight, so this might bite me in the ass. But I don't know. That's the hot take, I think, for me. Minnesota looked like they were so far ahead 2 months ago, and now they are the second wild card spot with the Blues jumping them last night and Calgary creeping up behind them. So that's my hot take. What do you think? Any chance of that?
I didn't hear anything you just said because I'm Googling the Ninja Crispy because I want to see how much it is because I want one.
Yeah.
That thing is unbelievable. Like, that thing just made food happen so quickly and so beautifully. Vic, can you please work on getting us some of those Ninja Crispies, please?
You think they're going to answer him?
Probably not. Nobody answers Vic. That's a good point, Johnny, for once. That is a good point. Here's what I'll say about your Minnesota take. Vic, I hope you got the timestamp on that because I know what I want for social media today. I want that clip because we know how Johnny feels. We know about how Johnny feels about the Wild, the state of Minnesota.
I wonder if Chris Kelleher is going to give me a hug today at morning skate. I'm about to see him in an hour.
Oh, so Vic, we need you to turn that clip around pretty quick so I can send it to Chris Kelleher before Johnny goes to morning skate. I think that's really important. They're not missing the playoffs. Come on. They're getting a couple of their players back here. I was on DFO Live yesterday with Russo, and it sounds like Kaprizov will be back. Eriksson Ek will be back here shortly. They're going to hang on. But again, we always knew that, the money comes off the books for Minnesota, and Billy Guerin's going to get to work this summer on getting Kaprizov signed and fixing that whole thing, that dead money situation. So I don't like your hot take this morning, but I do like the Ninja Crispy. Yeah. So I just hope we get some of those things teed up for social media. So we do have one more guest today. We are talking about the Washington Capitals. Johnny, I don't know if you're going to read him in with Proraso. I think we saved the best for last. So why don't you read him in and let's bring him in and let's get talking here on the Caps.
The perfect candidate for Proraso too, because he does have quite the nice beard. So before we bring Tarik on, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Proraso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Proraso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Proraso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. And Tarik is actually joining us. You're actually in the hotel. I thought you were going to be in the airport. You made it quick.
So the flight arrived 20 minutes early, and
nice.
I wasn't too far from the hotel, so I was able to get in. I mean, literally, I walked in like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, quite the first appearance, though, joining us like fresh from the Raleigh airport. It's so kind of you to do it this morning, Colby. You can say it whatever you want to say.
So your son plays for Maryland in the North American League. That's your lineage right there.
Yep. He's got 2 games left in the regular season and then the playoffs, and then he's off to Army West Point in June to play NCAA. So
yeah, well,
really excited for him.
Yeah, congratulations to you. I actually am one of the coaches for the Titans North American League team, so we've been playing against them all season. I never connected those dots, honestly, but now that they've been connected, Johnny told me yesterday, I'm like, oh yeah, what an idiot. Like, of course, obviously, like what was I thinking? Look, they've been a great team all year. For whatever reason, though, that's the one team ahead of us in the standings. We've kind of had their number this season. For whatever reason, you guys outshoot us, you outchance us, and we somehow slip through in overtime against you guys all the time.
2 times in a row this past weekend. It was so frustrating. I was like, we are dominating this game territorially. Like, what is going on? We're not giving up bad goals. We couldn't get it done. I don't know. I feel like we are a really good team. We're a little younger than the past couple of years. We'll see how things go in the playoffs, but I'm excited. This is my son's last junior season, so hopefully, after 2 runs at the Robbie Cup that didn't end up the championship, he'll get another chance to play for one in Minnesota.
Well, our power play has bailed us out against you guys. It's been our bread and butter all year. And the last thing I'll say about it before we go on to the NHL is that Zach McKelvey, who he's obviously going to play for at Army next year, was a teammate of mine in the American Hockey League.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's one of the people that if I had a son and I wanted to pick a coach for him to play for, he's one of the few people that I would be thrilled to death to have my son. Now, my son's really young. We're a long ways away from that. But Zach McKelvey is, I mean, talk about a class act and a guy who's going to be an unbelievable head coach. Like, you picked a winner with him. Like, I know, Riley was there forever, but I'm such a Zach McKelvey fan. Like, I gush over him any opportunity that I get a chance to. So that'll be amazing for you guys.
Yeah, met him on the visit. Met him when Army played Penn State in DC a couple of months ago. You can tell he's got what it takes to be a head coach. It's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah.
So just to flip gears quick, and I know you got. I mean, I played in the Null. I could talk about the Null for hours. But Tarik, I don't want to just focus on Ryan Leonard or Ovi right away. Obviously, those are the hot topics probably today for people that or watched or root for the Capitals. We were talking before because our producer Vic was saying that he still hears people saying that the Caps are the easy choice for that first round upset, but I don't agree. Colby doesn't agree, and I've actually been a Caps hater going into the year. I did not think they'd be. Obviously, no one really thought they'd be this good, but I didn't think they'd even be a playoff team. What is their weakness if they have one?
What is their weakness? That's a great question. I haven't really contemplated that. I have heard people go, oh yeah, the Caps might be paper tigers. They might not be, as good as their record or their accumulated standings points might indicate. And I'm with you guys. I don't agree, and I'll tell you why. And I know you asked about weaknesses, but in my opinion, the strong point of this team is the delta between the top guys in this team and the bottom guys isn't very big. And that matters in the playoffs. And we've seen that time and again with this Washington club that's been, good ever since Ovi's third year in the league, right? Is when you have just a handful of guys at the top and then, pluggers or other types in the bottom six, and maybe your bottom 3 Ds aren't that solid, that makes you ripe for an upset, because in a long playoff series, teams can game plan for you and make it really tough on you. But, with this Caps team, I'm like, okay, well, you shut down Strome's line. Well, Dubois' line will get you. You shut down Eller and Dubois, and Strome and Dowd will get you. I mean, there aren't many, I would say any areas that I look at and go, ooh, they should have bolstered that at the deadline. The goaltending has been solid all throughout. I know Logan Thompson's probably pulling his hair out right now. He probably doesn't feel like he's playing at best right now. But look, he's a good goalie. He earned that big contract extension. He'll come around. Chucky's been good throughout. So I don't see a big weakness. Maybe coaching experience, but because Carberry's only in his second year, but he was in the playoffs last year. Yeah. And I think he's up for the Jack Adams this year. And he's got Kirk Muller, and he's got guys on his bench with tons of playoff experience. So that's a long-winded way, Johnny, of saying, I don't know.
There are any. There's none.
And go, yeah, that dude's going to be a problem. I don't I don't see that.
Well, I just love how big they are. I love how they play between the hash marks. I mean, you look down the middle with him and Strome and Eller, and then they're flanked by big guys. Like Protas is huge. Connor McMichael's a big guy. Duhaime plays really heavy on the fourth line. I think you saw a little bit last night. I think Ryan Leonard can play heavy right away. I think that's what separates him from other kids that come right up into pro hockey. Like Chris Kreider could play heavy day one of the NHL. Ryan Leonard can play heavy right away in the National Hockey League. He's built for it. I don't understand why people think this Washington team is ripe for an upset. This team is as deep as complete as anyone. And you mentioned trade deadline. Their trade deadline was last summer. That was their trade deadline. Yeah. Chychrun, Roy, the moves that they made. I'm rolling with the Caps, man. I think they're a good hockey club.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And yeah, size. I always joke with people, they have the biggest general manager in the league. Chris Patrick is probably 6'7". The team president, who had been the general manager for many years and had a big hand in building this team last offseason, Brian McClellan's 6'5". So they love big dudes. And wait till you see the guys who are in the prospect pipeline that are coming in. With the exception of Cole Hudson, who I spoke to last night, and when we were in Boston, I spoke to him last night about Ryan Leonard. everyone in the pipeline is also 6'4", 6'5". Like they are trying to build a monstrous team that is just going to push opponents out of the game. You know, I think it's a good plan. I mean, Cole Hudson, you know, to your point, Colby was just gushing about Ryan Leonard and his physicality and how he leads, he drags. I know it's a cliche, but he drags his teammates into the fight with the big hits. And we saw one last night. I was really dialed into him and to Ovi. That's basically all I was watching last night. And you could tell early on Ryan was a little tentative. You know, he couldn't really find his routes on breakouts. He was like, oh, there's some, why am I running into my other guy here? Like, what's going on? And he was like, forget it. I'm just going to blow somebody up. And he just went and just hit someone at center ice. And it was like, all right. He ended up with 3 hits. I think that was tied for the team lead. Not the biggest guy, but he's solid. You know, he's 200 pounds. I mean, he's ready for this, and he's got some swagger to him. I think he's going to be a really nice addition to a Caps team that, you know, frankly was getting a little bored. You know, they're up double digits in the division with, you know, a handful of games to go, and you know, I just felt like before last night in Boston, they lost 3 in a row for only the second time all year. They just looked a little, you know, like human nature took over, and they were like, you know, we got a handful of games left. Let's just get to the fun part of the year. Leonard comes in and just gives everyone a jolt, a shot in the arm. Like, look at this kid. I remember when I was making my day, you could just feel there was more energy. The guys were excited. They wanted to make sure that he was comfortable and he got a win in his debut. And the timing of his arrival could not be better.
I only got one more for you, Tarik, and it actually is kind of building off what you just mentioned. And it's that internal competition. You talked about the pipeline. And I was listening to the Monumental broadcast last night before the game and during the game. What a great job those guys do also. But they were talking about how Ryan Leonard, not only were they talking about Ryan Leonard coming in, but they were talking about how Ryan Leonard comes in for Taylor Radish, who has played 73 games this year. It's not like Ryan Leonard is just filling a hole, right? Like he's taking someone's roster spot. And I've talked about it probably 10 or 15 times already this year because I have a good friend who plays in Hershey, and he talks about it all the time, how down in Hershey, they are like, they play to win. Like, not only do they play to develop their best players, they put the guys in spots that will help them win hockey games. And that's why they've won back-to-back Calder trophies. And Spencer Carberry knows that better than anybody. So when these guys are called up, like Ethan Frank, who we saw earlier in the year too, like there's a lot of internal competition within this organization. And obviously that gets the best out of players, not only in games, but in practices. And, you know, I'm just wondering what that's like to be around it every day, because you don't really see that in the NHL very often.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I kind of jokingly said this to someone the other day before we knew that BC was going to be eliminated and Ryan Leonard would be on his way. Andrew Mangiapane had scored 3 games in a row. And I was like, that looks like a guy who knows that there's a hotshot prospect's going to be showing up in a few days. And you're right. I mean, just think about what we were talking about with weak links. I mean, you bring in a kid from college and he's pushing out a veteran NHL player who has scored 20 goals in his career, who's played all 73 games, and now he's the guy on the outside. That speaks to this team's depth. And, I don't think that Radish is now just going to be sitting next to me in the press box. I think he's going to get back in there and he's going to want to protect his spot. And then that's going to make Leonard bring up his game, and it's going to Mangiapane playing hard, and it's going to make sure that Anthony Beauvillier is also dialed in, because no one wants to get scratched, especially this time of year while the coaches are trying to figure out what their playoff lines are going to be looking like, right? Internal competition, I know it can be stressful on players. I'm talking to 2 players right here. Yeah. You guys know how it goes, but at the end of the day, that's how you win.
You crave it. Honestly, you may be, I'm sure Taylor Radish is feeling more motivated right now than he's felt in the last 2 or 3 months. And you mentioned Mangiapane. It's 100% when you have a good, healthy locker room, which the Caps have, that could be the difference. Even when you get into the playoffs, when guys understand their accountability has to be near perfect in order to stay in the lineup.
And Colby, you bring up a great point there. I mean, not only is there accountability, these guys do love each other. It's a very tight room, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, you can
see it on social media.
100%. I mean, the other day, Alex Ovechkin and Jacob Chikrin were dancing to Bands of Make Her Dance at some college bar.
Tavern, right?
I saw Carlson. John Carlson was there too. I saw.
Well, I mean, these are 30-somethings. These guys have children, have teenagers at home, and they're making sure that the new guy felt welcomed and was going to come into the locker room and was going to be like, all right, guys, let's go do this. And
super cool. That's super cool that they did that. He's
the first guy to reach out. Every time someone's acquired by trade or signed, he is, hey, give me his cell phone number. I want to reach out. That's just huge. And it's not fake. It's not, it's not just something that he feels like he has to do as a leader. It's genuine.
Yeah. Well, look, we really appreciate you giving us some time today. We have a lot of very loyal listeners and viewers that are Caps people, and they love the fact that Johnny and I have been on opposite sides of the Caps all year, going back to preseason. Look, I'm not going to pretend like I thought they'd be one of the top of the league, but I had them in the playoffs this year. I loved what the general manager did. I thought the back end. And so it's great to have you on and to get your point of view. You're with the team, you're around the team. You get to talk to these guys day in and day out. So we really appreciate your time today. And we're definitely going to try to check back in with you after the Washington Capitals make light work of their first round playoff match, series, so we can shove Johnny's face in it a little bit. All right.
Give me a call anytime, guys. This was great.
Thanks, Tarik.
All right.
Maybe I'll see you in the second round of the NAHL playoff.
You know what? I sure would rather see you guys than Rochester, but I unfortunately think if we get, hopefully we'll get by Johnstown in the first round, and then we're gonna have probably Rochester the way things look like they're gonna shake out. But I would much rather see the Maryland Black Bears in the second round of the playoffs than Rochester. But maybe it'll be the third round. We'll cross paths.
Sounds good, guys.
All right.
Thank you. Awesome stuff. What a show today. 3 great guests. This show flew. But we got to get to some business because I have to get going here because I got to hide from Billy Guerin at MSG. So let's talk about tonight's Bet365 bet of the night. Last night, I almost broke the St. Louis Blues. They actually found a way to tie it thanks to Jordan Kyrou and then ended up winning it in overtime. But Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, NATION, in all caps to get in on the game. You must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. And tonight's Bet365 bet of the night, we're doing something different. We're going with some higher odds. Both teams need the point. Maybe they have a mutual agreement before puck drop like Minnesota and Jersey did the other night, where I think Luke Hughes held the puck behind the net for like the last minute just so both teams can secure the point. And we're taking the Rangers-Minnesota Wild draw. So we think this one, or I think this one, could go to overtime. Yes, I've been on a bit of a cold streak, so whatever. We're trying something different. Say something, wrap the show so I can leave. I have one more thing. Can I say one more thing? Yes. Do I have the floor?
Go ahead.
Okay. So a loyal listener of the show yesterday, actually, after we got off, Mackenzie Connick sent me a text of an article written by Tom Gallitti of the NHL. And this was from Monday, and he spoke to Darcy Kemper about what we, joked about yesterday with Pat Maroon. And the article says, this is from Tom Gallitti. Although no one wants to be the goalie Ovechkin scores his 895th goal against or help him get closer to the record, many of them are rooting for him to break it. Here's what Darcy Kemper said. I think everyone just appreciates how special what he's doing is. Obviously, when you're playing against him, you don't want him to score. But when you go and check the box scores after the game, everyone's like, oh, nice, another Ovi goal. So everyone's rooting for him, and it's so special what he's doing. So I think maybe I'm a little bit right.
No, you're not. That can't even be. That's not even close to the dumb thing you said yesterday. It's
all right. Make fun of me. Wrap the show. I gotta go here.
Of course, everybody is rooting for him, but nobody wants to be the guy. I think I saw Jeff Merrick say it in the chat earlier. There would be only one situation where the goalie would be happy if it was an e-bug. That would be the only situation where the goaltender would be happy. So I can't wait to get a message from David Roth on Twitter, because he doesn't listen to the show live because he's a goalie guy. It's going to be angry. It's going to be filled with hate. It's going to be all towards you for saying what you said about the goalie wanting to be the goalie that got scored on. So
I don't know if I said want. I just said wouldn't be mad.
You'd be happy, and then Pat just ridiculed you over text all day yesterday, which was even better. Okay, Johnny, we'll try to get you out of here to go to Rangers morning skate. Chris Kelleher and Billy Guerin will be waiting for you at the entrance. I've already primed them as to what you said today. So just, keep looking over your left and your right shoulder. Other than that, look, give us a like on today's episode. You guys are great about that stuff. It helps the show. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that button on your way out. Continue to subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We're getting closer to playoffs. We are in April. Johnny and I, as soon as playoffs starts, we'll be coming to you guys 5 days a week. So we will have that Friday show that you guys always give us a hard time about not having. DFO live at noon. As always, Zach, are you still here in the chat? If you are, give us a quick little preview of who you may have coming on the sheet today at 3 p.m. So we'll give Zach a couple of seconds. And look, don't forget, if you love this show and you like to eat, go get yourself a Ninja Crispy.
Yeah.
Right? Reach out. I don't know. Is there a code that we're giving for the Ninja Crispy? Did you read a code?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So we don't have a code yet. Maybe that's something that we can get. And I see Vic is flagging me here. Website in the show bio, but yeah, that's it. Okay. So check it out in the show bio. Zach Phillips, the producer for the sheet, says they are working on a big guest, potentially a guy who was traded by the Vegas Golden Knights. So keep an eye on the sheet's social handles. And maybe they'll let us know at some point today who's going to be on at 3 p.m. Other than that, we are out. We are out of time for today. We appreciate the audience. We appreciate the chat. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate the subscribes. We appreciate dragging the exit of the show out just to make Johnny a little bit later so he has more time to worry about what Bill Guerin's going to do to him when he gets to MSG. Maybe I'll let John Hines know what you said as well, so make sure you go to his press availability. Anyways, we will see everybody as we always do right back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow for our last show of the week. Tomorrow's Thursday, right?
Yes.
Okay, tomorrow's Thursday. So have a good day, everybody. We'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.